we have almost 3,000 holes of data that is not in our technical report, or 2 of the 3 not in our technical report. Right? Mike controls all that data, interfaces with Barry Dober, and makes sure that what we publish is technically correct and validated by someone else. But he does much more than that. He's integral to all the planning of our exploration activities. Steve Russell. Steve, where are you? Right there. 30-year senior mine geologist. Steve Russell is a resident of Virginia City. He's done an extensive amount of geology on the Comstock, but even beyond. But Steve is all about grade control, mine control, production control. So we have senior geologists on the rigs in the mines at all time. Bill Mitchell, if you could look back, Bill Mitchell with the sunglasses. Bill will be on the tour with Steve, you know, and don't hesitate to ask these guys questions about what you're seeing. They're the guys that are out there every single day. The reason our drills don't terminate when we're in the middle of mineralization is because we have geologists on the drills all the time, assessing, logging, and directing. Dennis Anderson, Dennis, right there. Dennis is a senior engineer, a qualified geologist, a qualified person. I'm not going to give you all of his credentials because they go on and on. He holds 6 patents to his name. Dennis has also spent half a decade in the Nevada Department of Environmental Protection at a time when all the regulations were being rewritten for flexible rules, and has very strong relationships and very intimate knowledge with all the permitting and environmental processes. Randy Harris is our newest hire. Where's Randy? Way back there. Some of you may have read about Randy because we just put a press release out about hiring him and updating people on the fact that we now have 30 mine professionals and over 50 employees total when you count the hotel. Randy has lived in Silver City since he was 6 years old. You know, worked in the fire department in Lyon County, Story County, ran ambulance services for towns as well as mines. A true man of safety, a true professional safety person. Worked for the state of Nevada, regulating mines for half a decade as well. And he's the kind of guy that'll shut our guys down if they're not doing it right. And that's what we need here. And then Dr. Zatumu, Ed, are you here? Right in the middle there? I didn't mention it earlier, but it's not so common that the guy running your operations is a metallurgist. Cliff Nelson is a metallurgist, and Ed, in my opinion, is one of the best metallurgists in the industry. And we have guys that are fanatical about getting 78% versus 75.3% out of the heap leach, right? So we're about production, we're about doing it right. Ed will be at the Merrill Crowe facility, so when you stop on that tour, he'll either step into the bus or some people will step out and we'll have some conversation about how we actually produce doré bars here on the Comstock. And a bunch of other folks here, and I'll introduce them as we go through, but in terms of our board, they're all here in force today. And please make sure you get a chance to talk to every one of them. You know, John, would you mind just standing up for a minute? As it's shown here, you know, John is the chairman of the board of the Intergroup Corporation. He's our lead investor, and we anticipate that tomorrow, you know, he'll be voted in as chairman of the board of Comstock Mining. So it's a great opportunity to get to know John. Bob, are you in the room? Or okay, Bob Rizet is a 40-year mine engineer and has been essentially our lead director in terms of operations for a very, very long time. He's here all day today. He's very personable. I encourage you to talk to Bob when you're here today, in part because he's the one member that can't be here tomorrow because of the conflict. Bill Nance is the chairman of the board today and will lead the meeting tomorrow. If you don't know Bill, he's just a fantastic guy. Please get to know him. And Scott, right up there on the stairwell. Scott lived in and around Virginia City for over 30 years. He is the man on the ground that was so instrumental in helping the company pull and consolidate the Comstock, and so well known locally, you know, be it in business, political, or just community areas. So these are the folks that take every opportunity, if it's over a beer or if it's, you know, over a glass of water or out on the patio, that you get to know over the pond. Just as a last point on organization, we really have taken, I would say, the final steps in professionalizing the company. All right, there's a lot of bumps and potholes on the way to starting up an exploration company, let alone being a junior producer, right? But we've put most of those bumps behind us. So we've gone from having part-time legal help to one of the best securities law firms in the country with Kelly Dry. We've gone from having a tiny little accounting firm to Deloitte, making sure that when we publish our financial information, it's complete and accurate and as transparent as possible. I think Ken Moelis has already become infamous, you know, in his association with us, but we really appreciate having smart people who are solution-oriented. Whenever I meet conventional people in the industry, they're like, why are you dealing with Moelis & Company? They're not a mining banker. No, they're not a mining banker. They're a good banker, right? And that's what helped us restructure our balance sheet, wipe out our debt, right, and give us a very, very strong funded position to do the things I'm about to talk about. We've always dealt with the best. You know, Mike Norad, who's now an employee of the company, founded TechBase. We deal with Gene McClellan directly out of McClellan Labs in Reno. We deal with George Burke directly out of American Assay. And it's not to be understated, right? The best mining companies in the world are in Nevada. They have a long haul to get to Reno to get access to these things. It's just right in our backyard. We play golf with Gene McClellan. Larry talks with George Burke on a weekly basis. So it's not luck that we are at the low end of the cost structure with our exploration activities and on the high end of the speed in terms of responsiveness from these people, right? As good as anybody in the industry, right? And just recently, we're proud to say we got listed on the New York Stock Exchange under the Amex division. And you know, when you pick a market maker, we picked Jay Stryker and Company. Usually you do 20-minute interviews. You know, John Winfield insisted that we go to New York, and I didn't really expect this, right? But we were on the trading floor for 4 hours, you know, interviewing each one of the market makers, right? So we're really taking this stuff seriously. It's not common. And John even yelled at Bruce because it took longer than we wanted it to, you know, to get listed. But we're happy that we're finally there. So, the main theme that you're going to hear from us today, and you're going to, I think, deduce on your own, is that this district is ridiculously underexplored and that we're ready for production. Most people know this. I'm just going to try to hit to the lowest common denominator. In a 2.5-mile swath of land from Virginia City to right about here, you'll see it in the geological presentations, over 8 million ounces of gold and almost 200 million ounces of silver were extracted from the Comstock, literally with picks, shovels, and pneumatic hammers. Okay, those guys chased visible minerals. They chased visible gold. They stepped in the blue mud. We joke that they tripped over it and stepped in it, right? You couldn't miss it, right? What they did miss is a lot of the minerals that sit around, right, those techniques, the extensions of the district, and literally everything south. We have consolidated now. Sorry. We have consolidated now a 6-mile area of land with over 6,000 acres. And we have been assessing, confirming, and unlocking, if you will, the geological structure of the Comstock in a way that's never been done before. The things that Larry and Mike are going to talk about, the papers that Larry has published are new. They're not precedented. Okay, the interpretations are new, and they're being validated with every hole that we drill. Okay, so the amount of area that we've drilled and the amount that we're going to drill is night and day. We're just getting started. And this little red area identifies the starter mining areas, which you'll see on the tour. I mentioned